Hi, I'm David Fleming, and I want to welcome you to the YouTube channel of Disciples Ignited, where we focus on Jesus, advance His kingdom, and prepare His disciples. You know, I'm really glad that you've chosen to listen to these short videos. They're each less than 5 minutes long, but I'm sharing with you some content from God's Word that I know is going to help you in your growth in Jesus, and so that you'll become a true disciple of the Lord. So welcome. You may also be interested in the Spirit-Filled Discipleship series that I've written that's now on Amazon. It's a series of 3 books that's really full of content from God's Word that's going to help you grow as a disciple of the Lord. So look it up on Amazon. You'll be glad that you did. Now let's get started on our study for today on the life and ministry of David. Now, yesterday we ended with the fact that David was wise enough to listen to the counsel of women. Now, that doesn't sound like much today, but let me tell you, that's expected today, but not in the culture that David grew up in. The advice of women in David's culture would never have been sought after, and if it had been given, it certainly wouldn't have been listened to. But that's not how David approached things. Let me give you a story. Find it in 1 Samuel. David and his men had been protecting the shepherds of Nabal, who was a rich landowner who owned thousands of sheep. He was a very wealthy man. Now, David's men did this for free, watching over Nabal's sheep, watching over the shepherds as they took care of the sheep. Now, when the time came for the sheep to be sheared, David sent his men to ask Nabal for food. You see, the shearing of the sheep was a very festive time for everybody. So sharing the bounty with those who protected you and protected your shepherds, protected your sheep, protected your land, that would have been expected. Even Nabal's shepherds testified in 1 Samuel 25:16. Night and day they were a wall around us the whole time we were herding our sheep near them. Instead of giving David and his followers some of the bounty of the festival, Nabal treated David's men with contempt and refused to help him, not even a little bit. Nabal's attitude, his arrogance, and his refusal to help David and his men who had been protecting his flocks from all the harm for a long time, it caused David's anger to flare up. 1 Samuel chapter 25, verses 21 and 22 tells us how David reacted to this. David said, "It's been useless all my watching over this fellow's property in the wilderness so that nothing of his was missing. He has paid me back evil for good. May God deal with David, be it ever so severely, if by morning I leave alive one male of all who belong to him." Wow, David was really mad. Well, David took 400 of his men to attack, loot, and destroy Nabal, his household, and his employees. He's going to take everything and destroy everything. But Nabal's wife, who the Bible tells us was a very beautiful and wise woman, saved the day. Her name was Abigail. When Abigail heard how her husband had treated David and his men, she immediately loaded up some donkeys with food and provisions, and she hustled out and found David, who was on his way to destroy Nabal and his property. She got off her donkey. She fell down on her knees and pleaded for mercy. She begged David to please be merciful. And she showed him all the provisions that she had brought. Well, Abigail acted with humility, bringing provisions, and she pleaded for mercy. But she also spoke very wisely. But the thing that I want to point out today is that David listened. Most men would have just ignored her pleas for mercy, but David listened. He not only listened, but he followed Abigail's advice, despite the fact that women were dismissed as unfit to say anything. Well, he told her that she had saved him from making a grave error. You know, we have a lot to learn from this. Listening is a characteristic that too often we fail to cultivate, but we need to. Especially listening to those whom God has put in our lives, like your wife, your husband, or people you work with. Learn how to listen. You'll probably be surprised at what you may learn in the process. Until tomorrow.